Ladies and gentlemen.
Everyone, this is the Loose Cannon, David McPhee, and welcome to this week's episode of TLSN Overtime. Got a very special guest joining us today. He's one half of the Mid-States Wrestling Tag Team Champions, the fraternity. He's also a pretty cool guy. He gives me a lot of grief, but we love getting to finally have the Aerial American Alan Jefferson join us right here on TLSN Overtime.
David McBee, thank you so much for the invite. And let me kick things off by congratulating you on 6 seasons of the podcast. That is awesome. And now that you're in season 6 and really getting up there, of course, it's time to bring on the good talent, right? The great talent. So I'm glad I could come on and do that for you, help you out a little bit, celebrate the right way.
Well, we appreciate the ratings bump we're going to get from this. So glad to have you joining us. And I'll tell you what, man, I've got to see you from really early in your career. I know, we went over one day and we was doing an interview with the Space Cowboy Jason Jones, and you were in the ring. And from what he had shared, you were part of a new class that had just started, a new group. What's funny is I think back to that, almost every guy that was in there, I see at all of our shows now, they've become, very good independent wrestlers. And so I got to kind of see you from the start, but kind of tell me, first of all, how in the world did you get into professional wrestling?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Fun story with that. And before we dive up, like you said, yeah, I think you might actually have been one of the first people I met in professional wrestling, one of the first interviews I ever did, because I was just training in that crop of classes when you guys came down. So known each other a long time, and I'm glad to know you for sure. And it's been a crazy adventure, man. Wrestling this thing has been wild, and getting into it, I've always been a wrestling fan. I think a lot of wrestlers really are, right? There's that love. You have to have that love for it. And so any kid who watches, I think they think, I want to do that, right? I want to be that guy. Those guys are superheroes. I want to do that. And that always kind of burned in me. But then you grow up and then you live and you start doing things and you work, and right, life gets in the way of your dreams. And that's unfortunately a little more common than I think we'd like it to be. But one thing I never really gave up were those wrestling friends, right? I had college buddies. We get together and we watch pay-per-views and things like that. And we kind of keep in touch and keep up with the product and stuff, even if I wasn't necessarily watching every week, as I used to when I was a kid and stuff like that. But I always have a bit of a competitive side. I like to stay active and I like to do sports and things like that. And so it was only a matter of time until I kind of caught the buzz that, hey, a friend of a friend, Kelly Parker. Now she's with NXT off doing great things, but was training down with a Space Cowboy, a guy named Jason Jones in Harrison, Arkansas. And it was about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours away. And all I needed was a ring and a chance, right? And 2 hours didn't seem like that big of a deal to do that. So we hit Jason up, and then we traveled down there. Jimmy Fiasco and I actually started on day one together, got in the car and traveled down. And man, the rest is history. I will say it was nothing like what I expected, but I'm sure glad I did it.
Level of talent of that group that you were with. I mean, from, like Jimmy Fiasco, and I know Johnny Lightning, Johnny Dynamite, the Johnnies were down there. I mean, just so much great talent. And it's just a great school that's here locally. And when you think about all the people that have kind of come through that Mid-States Wrestling training program, it's an amazing program.
Oh, it's awesome, man. And like whenever I first started, you think, there's guys like the Blue Bolt that are in there training. I'm showing up, I'm green, I'm brand new, and like, okay, maybe I can do this. I hope I can do this, right? I want to do this. And I see somebody like the Blue Bolt flying all over the place and slamming around and jumping, the speed and the movement that he has. I'm like, what am I doing here? Right? Like, but it's awesome, man. There's some amazing talent that comes through. I can't pat JJ on the back enough, man. I can't pop up Jason Jones quite enough for the level of commitment he brings to training, and Gary Graham too, training co-head trainer over there at the Mid States Arena. Those two generate professional wrestlers. They take people who have a love for it, and I think that's one thing that the Mid States locker room and the Mid States Training Academy is great for, is finding people with a love for pro wrestling, right? Who want to be good at this, and then they get two of the best trainers you can ask for, who turn them into that. How are you going to beat that, right?
So
It's
how
awesome.
long did you, from when you started training to when you ultimately had your first match? How long of a time frame was that?
Man, I was in there busting tail. I believe I was right around, I think it was about the year and a half mark. Around a year and a half. So going a little inside baseball, a little how I finally was able to cut my teeth a little bit. One day, Jason Jones and Joey Corman, another Mid States alumni there for sure, grabbed Johnny Dynamite and I and threw us in the car and took us down to Texas and threw us in some. Threw us in some masks and beat us around in Texas a little bit and got to cut my teeth down there. So drug me out of state and beat me up, and that's love right there. Let me tell you.
There's a lot of people think like, oh, this is something you could pick up in like a week or two and be wrestling. But I mean, it takes a long period of time. So like a year and a half before you're even in there competing, that's how much work goes into it.
Absolutely, and that was man a year and a half. And when we say competing, my first match, and looking back, seeing where I've come from, it's awesome and it's a little bit tough, right? To go back and see when you first get going and like, hey, I can do this and this is what I've gotten. It's such an evolving business, right? And I don't think you're ever fully trained. I don't think you're ever done learning how to wrestle, right? Because this is such an evolving sport and such a big, incredible, incredibly hard sport that we all love, that I think you're always getting a little bit better, but even the year and a half that it took me to get to that early level, I looked like I was just learning how to walk, man. Like it is not easy. This is not easy. And anybody who thinks I can pop in there, I can do that, that first bump is going to change your mind. You're taking a bump, right?
Yeah. Bump. Yeah, you got to tuck your chin or you're going to knock yourself out. So,
Boy, that first bump, man. I knew this is a dream and I knew this is something I wanted to do. If there was ever anything in wrestling that was a deterrent that, hey, maybe you don't want to do this, it was that first bump. I think I felt it from the back of my shins to the back of my head, man. I didn't exhale. I didn't tuck my chin. I was like, I just fall down, right? No, you don't just fall down.
yeah, you find out it's not a trampoline.
It's not a trampoline. No, sir. No,
That's what
that's a little
everyone
firm
always,
down
yeah, that's what everyone always thinks. Well, after you got your training, the beginning of your career, you had probably one of the biggest upsets of any match that I've been at Mid States. I mean, it was just incredible. You were facing the lover boy Matt Riviera and got a huge upset in front of a hometown crowd that was probably one of the biggest pops that I've ever seen. I mean, just an incredible matchup. Kind of tell us about that. I think I caught the shock heard around the world.
there. Man, I think that was, what was that, McBee? Probably 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
I could recount to you just about every minute of that like it happened yesterday. You talk about lightning in a bottle. That was lightning in a bottle. You can't talk about the history of mid states wrestling without mentioning Matt Riviera, right? He is a legend in mid states wrestling. He's a legend in this business. He's an incredible talent, and boy, he can hit. He can hit. I think, yeah. If I don't know if it'll come through, but I've got a prettier smile these days. Have for the last about 6 years. This tooth is just straight up missing because Matt Riviera decided to break it right out of my mouth there that day in Springfield, Missouri. So he gave me a souvenir. Something about it that day. That I will tell you one thing. There's no way I could have pulled that off, that I could have stole that victory from Matt Riviera, because that's what it was, man. I got lucky that day, but I got boosted above, way above where I was, because you were there. I could barely hear myself think, McBee. Those people were crazy.
Yeah.
Springfield came out. Springfield came out. And you know what? There are some days where maybe Springfield and I don't see eye to eye these days. We sing some different tunes now and then, but I can't fault their commitment. I can't fault the dedication of a good, hard Springfield, Missouri crowd, man. There's nothing like it. It's nuts.
Tell you what, that Springfield crowd too, they definitely bring the boom to the room because every single show, it's always sold out. The crowd is completely engaged. They're involved. It's hard for you guys to even have matches just with Streamergeddon, with all the streamers that they're launching in the ring. But I mean, just an incredible, it's a hotbed of pro wrestling right now, Springfield, Missouri.
It's incredible, man. I've been assaulted by those streamers. Like they're chucking them at me. They're trying to hurt me, David McBee. It's the Wild West out there. It's crazy. But no,
Yes,
it's
man.
right now. This is a beautiful area to be in here. Northern Arkansas, just this whole web, right? A lot of Missouri. It's cool how it's taken out and really becoming. There's some incredible wrestling talent in this area.
Well, and you started off initially as a singles wrestler and then now have made the transition. You formed an alliance with Cannonball Matthews, and I'll tell you what, the work is the fraternity. I mean, you guys now, of course, you're the current Mid-States Wrestling Champions. I got to give props to you, even though, sometimes I think there's some nefarious ways that you guys win. But man, tell me a little bit about that partnership and that transition from a tag team or from a singles to a tag team.
So it was it was kind of a partnership of happenstance a little bit, the way it kind of worked out, really kind of developed organically. And it's one that I'm really, really glad happened because personally, like always, my whole life, I've loved tag team wrestling, right? Like I legitimately believe that while it's all wrestling, right? Singles wrestling and tag team wrestling, those can be two different art forms. You can absolutely tell a masterclass with a story with tag team wrestling. It just kind of opens so much with the chemistry, the coordination, right? All the bodies involved. Something about tag team wrestling I've just always thought has been kind of incredible. And Cannonball Matthews, sometimes you got to saddle your horse to the winners, man. Cannonball Matthews and I had been riding to training together for 5 years. I've been getting in the car with this kid. And so for 5 years, I've had the chance to see his hunger, to see his drive, to see just how much he cares about pro wrestling and see the diamond that is in the rough of that giant monster right there. I know what he's got. And I knew that there's something special there because the fraternity isn't just a tag team, McBee, and this is serious as a heart attack. It's a brotherhood. Like I do anything for that guy, and I know he'd do the same for me. And I think that's what makes the fraternity work so well, right? Is the chemistry is just there. He's the guy I've been talking his ear off a couple times a week for 5 years, now consistently. I know him about as well as I know about anybody. And you get that together, man. You get the raw, pure power of Cannonball Matthews. You give me access to that. You ain't never gonna stop me. Ain't nothing gonna do it.
Well, kind of tell us a little bit about this, and I think I see it there. It's all dented up on your desk, but this petition thing that's been going on for, between you and Mid States for like, I don't know, 2 years now. Yeah, I mean, and you could tell the petition's been involved in a lot of stuff. Tell us a little bit about this petition.
Sure. Well, a couple years ago, now I'm mid-stage wrestling. I love this business and I love wrestling. And as we just talked about, it's not easy, right? This isn't an easy sport to master or to do. And I'm not proud to admit this, but sometimes you get frustrated, right? You can lose your cool just a little bit. That's the thing that can happen. I like to believe that I'm above it. I would love to say I'm immune to it, but I know I'm a person and I know what I'm really about and who I am. And I know that's not true. I know sometimes I get a little frustrated, right? It happens. Well, that happened in Springfield, Missouri one day. I was wrestling, happened to be wrestling a young buck, a rookie going by the name of Cannonball Matthews, weirdly enough. And, it was another show and going. And things had just been a little bit tough, right? The wins had been coming a little bit slower than they had been. And I felt like I'd had a couple things that slipped out of my hands, and Cannonball was still pretty new. And I guess you should never count your chickens before they hatch, but I kind of thought I had that one in the bag, right? And well, he pulled a little underhanded trickery, and I ended up losing. And I don't know if I'd say I'm proud of it, but I don't know. I don't want to be ashamed of who I am. So I took it out on Ryan Lee a little bit. I know that's a little personal to you, and I'll give you my apologies there, but Ryan decided to rub it in at the wrong time a little bit. And well, I guess what happened happened, and I apologize for it. I'll come out. I'll apologize. I don't have a problem doing that. But then Terry Zeller decided he wanted to take my livelihood away from me about it. If you remember, he came out and he announced that I was suspended from mid states wrestling. David McBee, I have a family. I have a child. I have to feed my family. And Terry Zeller thinks he can take away my right to feed my family, can suspend me, not pay me, not let me wrestle, not let me earn put food on my table. No, I have a right to work. And I am the Aerial American, and it's time that I enforce my rights, right? And I enforce the democratic rights I've been blessed by our Constitution and our country. And that's what I'm doing with Mid States. I formed my petition against Terry Zeller, and I brought it. I made sure it was present so that I could present exactly what grievances I had. And I saw, you know what, there's a lot of wrong in mid states. Once that got resolved, I'm not done making a difference here. So you'll be dang sure I got to have this special clipboard with me just to make sure that, when there's wrongs that need to be righted, I can whip up that quick petition and get things in order. Now, you want things to be fair and balanced, and you don't want injustices in the world, do you, McBee?
I try to stay fair and balanced on all my, since I'm a legitimate sports reporter, sports journalist. So
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. But yeah, and then of course, so that's Alan Jefferson is the voice of the people, right? I'm not afraid to say what's wrong, to make sure that the change that you want to see to have a better, more beautiful mid-states wrestling or wherever we happen to be, that's what I'm going to bring for you. And if a better, more beautiful mid-states wrestling means Alan Jefferson is sitting on top with the championship, so be it.
well, kind of tell me, what's next for the fraternity and the Aerial American? What are you guys targeting next? I know your war with Terry Zeller has been ongoing for at least the last year and a half, 2 years.
Well, here what we're looking for is respect. We want respect from mid states wrestling from the top down. And we thought by working, putting the work in, doing it the honest way, like we do every time, Scouts on it, putting the work in, becoming your tag team champions, that we would get that respect, that we'd be respected by mid states. The fans would see what we've got on, and grateful as they are, surely they have to respect our incredible talent, but we get respect from the boss, from Terry Zeller, right? From Jason Jones, from the folks in charge. And it still doesn't seem like that's happening, McBee. And I'm not sure what Terry Zeller's problem is. I don't know if I need to have a confrontation with him, but I will say one championship didn't take care of it. I don't know, maybe two. Cannonball Matthews looks hungry. I've seen him. I've seen his eyes light up for that U.S. Or sorry, for that Missouri championship. I know he's had a couple of eyes on that. He's been seeing Colton Vaught run around a little bit, and I don't know. I've got some calls to make, and maybe we see if how Cannonball looks with a couple of straps on him. I don't know. Luke's
I
been
think
getting
this.
a little comfortable too. Just saying.
Yeah, I think the sky's the limits for the fraternity. I mean, you guys are definitely on a roll, on a hot streak, and I'm looking forward to continuing to follow you guys through Mid States Wrestling.
And one thing I'll say now, the fraternity is ever reaching. The mid stage chapter is pretty exclusive because, frankly, it's hard to find somebody who lives up to the caliber of the fraternity. But that's not to say that the fraternity is a closed door. So, what could the fraternity mean? Who knows? Maybe our doors open a little bit more. Maybe we see somebody else come through. All I can tell you is there are big things planned, and you are going to see them.
Now, to those fans that are out there watching too, a lot of big events that's going to be coming up throughout later this year. So go out to mswtickets.com. Know those tickets become available. Also, season 3 of Mid States Wrestling, first episode just aired. So a lot of good episodes going to be coming out. I'm sure we'll see yours truly and some of those matches on there as well. So it should be a fun season 3 of that program.
Oh, so excited, man. I will say the Mid States Wrestling YouTube seasons are some of the coolest pro wrestling media I think you can get out there. And the coolest part is you can get it for free. If you want to find top quality pro wrestling that you, quite frankly, should have to pay to see, but don't want to pay for, Mid States Wrestling has the hookup. Go to the Mid States Wrestling YouTube page, check those 3 seasons. We're on season 3 now, and it only gets better each season as we evolve. Get your taste, then get out to the Mid States Wrestling Arena because once you cut it on YouTube, you have to see it live. I will tell you, there is nothing like the majesty of the fraternity coming through and just showering their greatness on a live audience. The people just love it. They just love it.
You heard it right there from the Aerial American. You got to check out Mid States Wrestling. Check him out online. Follow him on YouTube and on Facebook. But I know you're a busy man, and I do want to say congratulations. I know you recently, have a young child. So how's it like? How's it like being daddy right now?
Man, and boy, tell you, talk about another tough wrestling match. It is awesome. It's the coolest thing I think I've ever done. Being a dad is awesome. He's my little man already. He's 8 weeks old at the time that we're recording this, so he's just a little dude. I will say, I thought I knew what being tired was. Um, I think I've learned. I think I've learned. Boy, he likes to be up in the late in the night, and then life calls early in the morning. So it's been so cool, and I'm really blessed that my schedule kind of pared down a little bit by serendipity, a little bit by design. I hit the brakes on kind of traveling just a little bit to really get that fatherhood time in and form that bond. Because while I love Cannonball, this is my new tag team partner. He's my little guy. So it's
And
been
I'm sure he's
awesome.
going to be
Mom's
a
been great.
big wrestling fan coming up. And I mean, speaking of wrestling fan, when you were, you talked a little bit about it earlier, but kind of who did you kind of look up to when you were younger watching pro wrestling? Who kind of inspired you that's out
Yeah,
there?
no, absolutely. So growing up, I grew up. I actually come from a real small town too. So I come up from a town, Walker, Missouri, town of I believe it was 220 people around the time that I was born there. So, and I was an only child in the town of 220 people. So not a whole lot of things to do, right? Not a lot of stuff in the area necessarily. But my dad was a pretty big wrestling fan. I'd watch a lot of wrestling with my dad. He was a big Hulk Hogan guy. He was a huge Hacksaw Jim Duggan guy, and that stuck with me real, real, real hard. My dad is a proud soldier, very, very big inspiration into helping Alan Jefferson find his voice and find who he is, and everything like that. But loved Hacksaw Jim Duggan. But as I got a little bit older and was really watching, if there was one influence that to me was like this guy, this is like how I see pro wrestling. It's from way back when he was the Lionheart, right? Breaking things out. It's Chris Jericho. Because to me, he's got it all. You look, I'm not the biggest guy in the room, and sometimes you can't be, and you got to find a way to make it happen. Never stop Chris Jericho, right? He can hold his weight with the giants. He can hang with the smaller dudes. He's in there and he has that personality. He can command things. Everything about the way that Chris Jericho can walk into a room and take command of it, that fascinated me from an early age. Not going to lie, that was a pretty big influence.
Well, I think he was recently, Fozzy came to Springfield. Did you get a chance to attend that concert up there in Springfield?
I, I did, man. The 25th anniversary tour of Fozzy opened in Springfield, Missouri. And I was like, what cooler way to kick that off and pay some homage to a dude who's big time responsible for me getting in this business and going to check him out. It was fun, man. Scream singing Judas. Gotta love it.
Awesome. Well, great. And I know you got a little one to get back to. Don't want to take too much of your time, but do you have a couple time, just a couple rapid fire questions to kind of finish this up?
Bring him on, baby.
All right, cool. All right, first one. What is the last show that you've been watched?
The last show that I binge watched. So I'm pretty deep into a Danny McBride kick right now. Big Danny McBride fan, Righteous Gemstones, all of that. Of course, the Righteous Gemstones series finale is this Sunday, and I'm hooked. But as part of I can't wait for the finale. I want to get through. I've been kind of ripping through again, though I've seen it before. Some of the other Danny McBride stuff. I'm on Eastbound and Down right now, so I'm kicking off the last
It's
season of
my
Eastbound
show.
and Down. Rewatch. I love that one, man. It's so good.
Yeah, I need to get one of those Kenny Power jerseys from when he was playing down in Mexico. I
Yeah,
need to order one of those for me to wear one day. So, uh,
big Kenny Powers fan. Always will be.
yeah, good. That's good stuff, man. Well, kind of tell us, what music really gets you pumped up when you're getting ready to perform, when you're getting ready to be at a show? What's your go-to song?
Man, so I got a little bit of a weird kind of music taste. It's a little bit eclectic, and whenever if it's show day or I've got something big coming up, or I've got a fight that I'm going to get ready for, it's going to be a little bit of a process because I like to kind of mellow myself out a little bit and then kind of get ramped up. And so it sort of goes through two phases. Um, I'm a I'm a real big kind of classic country guy, right? Well, you're talking your Hank Williams, your Roger Millers, things like that, right? Really, really big fan of that. So I'll get my day going, just kind of grooving to some King of the Road and stuff like that, and just letting myself get mellowed out and kind of find my center. That's sort of how I meditate, right? How I find my zen is I really like a lot of that kind of the old country stuff like that. And then once we get a little bit closer to hey, it's go time, I'm a big pop punk guy. I think Bowling for Soup is my favorite band. So a little pop punk comedy band out of Texas, been kicking about 30 years now. So yeah, my playlist will mix from like Turnpike Troubadours to George Strait to Bowling for Soup to Green Day, like all sorts of that. So whole bunch of the country into the pop punk. But there is our we talked about our resident fan Matt Riviera. He actually recorded his own single, "The Best Meats in the Rump," and gotta say it's a personal tradition. Before I go out, every time I have a match, I gotta rock out the Best Meats in the Rump before I kick it off.
I tell you, we're talking about music. There's some pretty good entrance music, especially at our mid-stage shows. Some of the ones they come out to, and I always have like when I'm driving over my go-to, I'm cranking up Van Halen. It's about a 50-minute drive from my house. I'm cranking up Van Halen, and then when I walk in, it's like, hey, I'm the loose cannon now, baby. I'm not David McBee anymore. So yeah.
That's it. Oh yeah, man, I've Van Halen. Yeah, love that little AC/DC. The Eagles. I'm a big Skinner Eagles. A lot of that Southern rock too. Get things
Cool.
pumping. Keep the blood
Well,
moving.
you kind of mentioned, Hacksaw Jim Duggan and some of the legends that kind of inspired you. What do you think? What's been your biggest moment so far in wrestling? Because you've got to meet legends, get to know legends, wrestle legends. I mean, you've been involved in so many things.
Man, it's that's a tough one to answer because it's a little bit wrestling's kind of a it's a little bit of a blur, right? In that it all is just a little bit overwhelming, and every moment I kind of have is my new favorite one, right? It seems like sometimes, but some of the things that have really just stood out. I mean, there's some cool people that I've gotten a chance to meet. I got to meet Arn Anderson thanks to Mid States Wrestling. I got to meet Buff Bagwell thanks to Mid States Wrestling. It's really cool. That stuff is hard to beat. Jimmy Hart, one of my favorite people on the planet. Jimmy Hart's my buddy now, right? So that association alone is just too neat. But there are some things that Mid States Wrestling has given me. The first time Cannonball Matthews and I won the Mid States Wrestling Tag Team Championships in Springfield, Missouri, man, that was something about the hard work coming home to roost, right? Even if well, ways we did it, nobody needs to split hairs too much, but the fact that it happened, the realization that it was setting in, both for me and everybody who just witnessed what we did, that was that was pretty tough. Another one, I know, taking my one special moment and trying to squeeze 3 or 4 out of them, but we did, we just got back. We had Crane, Missouri, the fundraiser for Crane Schools, and becoming an annual fundraiser because last year we did it for the first time. And that last Crane show, the fraternity came out and we caused chaos throughout that night. And we went out, we took the Johnnies to the woodshed as we do. Sometimes you got to went in there, tore things up in the battle royal, and then decided that Luke Langley and CTV needed a little taste of it too, and so we kind of jumped in during that main event, and that whole night that crowd was chomping at the bit, waiting for me to get mine, and foaming at the mouth for me, and something about spending an entire evening just getting people riled up and wanting them to watch you get your head torn off. Something about that sticks with you. It's a little hard to beat.
Awesome. And that moment, I remember like when you won that belt, that championship, I got to call that. And I remember I was one of my funnest calls because I think it was something like, oh, Lord, help us or something like that. Or, good God, I can't remember what it was, but I remember it
We
was
got the
something really
power on
good.
not letting it go, not letting that power go.
All right, well, I got one more question. I know you gotta go, but tell me, maybe tell the fans out there what is something they might not know about you.
Something they may not know about me. Okay. Okay. I think I got one. So I mentioned I'm from a real small town, right? Mentioned from a town of about 200 people. Adjacent towns are towns of like 3,000 and 5,000. So real small kind of farming communities where I grew up. As a result, local county rodeos, pretty decent little thing, right? Everybody will come out once the Vernon County Youth Fair comes in, the Vernon County Rodeo comes into town, will come through. And they used to do a sport called mutton busting. I don't know if you're familiar, you may be.
Never heard of
But
button busting. That's new.
so what mutton busting is, you'll have the rodeo and people are out there riding their bulls and they're riding their broncos and riding horses and stuff and running barrels and things. Well, every once in a while they'll get the kids out there, they'll let the kids come out and they'll bring some sheep out. And they'll let you get on a sheep. They got a little lasso rope around the sheep. You set on the sheep's back. They'll give her a smack on the butt and let her take off, right? And you see how long you can hold on, and they kind of judge it like a rodeo contest. So back when I was in fourth grade, and when I was in fourth grade, generously, I weighed 50 pounds. I was tiny. I was scrawny. I was up until I graduated high school. Let's see, I graduated high school 5'6" and 95 pounds, I think. So
Wow.
I've
Yeah.
been a small guy. Yeah. Oh, I was tiny, man. Born with the soul of a competitor, the soul of an athlete. I love sports and the body of a 12-year-old. But it's what you do. But in fourth grade, little me decided to try mutton busting, got up on that sheep and tried it with a buddy of mine. Buddy got on. He's a little bigger than I was. He got on his sheep. They smacked it on the butt. It took about 3, 4 steps and laid down, took a little nap. Right, and decided it was tired. It was gonna take a little nap. Well, I got on there. My little butt hops on the sheep. They smack it on the butt, and they might as well have taken a cattle prod to it. Right, might as well have taken a branding iron to it. That sheep just took off like a shot. Right, just darting on the arena. It was hauling, and my little arms, I was hanging on for dear life. I didn't fall off that sheep, not because I wanted to win, because I was terrified of hitting the ground. So there was nothing was going to keep me off. But it knocked me off that sheep. I ended up winning that. And that summer, they had decided things changed in Vernon County a little bit, that it was maybe a little less than humane for the sheep to continue doing that. So they discontinued the mutton busting competition. So now and forever, Alan Jefferson will be the last great mutton buster of Vernon County, the last great sheep champion.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well,
I think they need to build a statue to me, but that's just me.
awesome. Well, hey, man, I just want to say first, thank you so much for taking your time again. Congratulations on the birth of your child. Looking forward to seeing, what crazy things the fraternity is going to be up to and over the next several months, years, and excited to continue to follow your career. But thank you so much for joining us today.
You will see you got the anniversary show coming up for Mid States pretty quick, right? June 14th.
Yeah, that's gonna be a huge one. So a lot of great matches. So yeah, we'll definitely be there and look forward to seeing Mr. Alan Jefferson. And for all the Twin Lake Sports Network fans out there, this rest of this week, go out and do something nice for someone. Remember, your tomorrows are never guaranteed, and have a great week from all of us here at the Twin Lake Sports Network.
Thank you, David McBee. Appreciate you.
Ladies and gentlemen. Let's go.